A keystone species is any species in an ecosystem whose population and behavior affects every other species. That's certainly what we are as a species right now. In order for us to design an agriculture or a culture that is ecological, then we have to look to our local models, and that's the forest. That is our teacher.
Creating a multi-storied ecosystem with mushrooms and berries and fruits and nuts and grazing animals and vegetables all interwoven. This idea of permaculture. We can actually be healing forces.
What could it be like if humans can help make this place sing with life? That gets me really fired up because I can just taste the beginning of it.
Permaculture is a design process that's applicable in any landscape for any set of objectives.
Looking at problems and seeing how they can turn into solutions.
Nature's the best thing we got. Like, point to something else that's better. Like, there's nothing that, we don't have anything else. And it hasn't only survived, it's thrived. It's found ways to adapt to new conditions.
An economy that's aligned with permaculture would be an economy in which the best business decision is the same as the best ecological decision.
What this is about is whatever species you're working with, plant or animal, like how does it want to thrive? You know, if you give it the right conditions, it just explodes with help. That's the shift of permaculture from agriculture, is how are we placed in it rather than imposing on top of it.
Agriculture comes from agrarian culture. Agrarian means the soil, culture means the enrichment of it. Agriculture today is the destruction and depletion and extraction of soil. It's closer to mining.
Let's now design ecosystems. They're ecologically sound, economically productive, and it's permanent agriculture. We walk away from this place right here, it'll still be producing crops for the next couple thousand years.
All of a sudden, humans start doing good, and then impact is a great thing. Footprint is something we want to leave.
Quand on est petit, on se dit que plus tard on ira explorer le monde. Et puis en grandissant, on oublie ses rêves pour tomber dans la routine.
The world as we see it is an expression of the collective beliefs. When we look at the world today in crisis and failing, then it says if you want to evolve and survive this crisis, we have to change the belief systems.
The reduction of our identities to being consumers is part of the problem.
La science du XXe siècle a redécouvert ce que le bouddhisme nous a appris depuis 2500 ans, c'est-à-dire les concepts d'interdépendance. Toutes les choses sont reliées ensemble.
So it's a kind of like a cycle. That's how nature works. So we have to learn from nature and create a cyclical economy.
Nosotros somos la punta del cambio que viene, ¿no?
If you could do anything you wanted to do and money did not matter at all, what would you be doing?
The answer came loud and clear. This is our home until we find a new one.
Just taking one step at a time, and that gets me through the day.
Now, if you got a little psychological rough.
What am I really looking for? What am I seeking? What am I...
Although America has a reputation of consuming an awful lot of stuff and an awful lot of energy, nonetheless, there's something about the American disposition which is often predisposed towards wanting to create community.
The technology is out there, the land is out there, the money is out there. So what it comes down to is organizing humans harmoniously to be able to kind of work with all of those resources and create something beautiful.
We wanted to create an example of what could be done.
An example of how people could live sustainably.
A place where all of us can live our values.
And it's about land not being private, it's about land being a collective space, and that children are running around and creating community, and that goats are running around and creating community, and that chickens are going from one place to another. And
a place of synergy that everyone feels a part of, rather than somebody wins and somebody loses.
You get the irresistible revolution. Everyone's giving, everyone's receiving.
If we can do that with a group of 10, hopefully it keeps going, you know.
This shouldn't just be a retreat that you go to once a year. This should be your life.
The thing that I've learned that on this journey more than anything that I would love to share with other people is when you know what you want in life and you really truly passionately go after it, the universe will open doors and help you find the way through it all.
The number of Americans who say, yes, I'm very happy with my life, peaks in 1956 and goes slowly but steadily downhill ever since.
The stresses on the average household have increased enormously.
There is a constant pressure on people to have bigger, better, more.
And all the time we're exposed to images of a certain level of material success, a certain level of looks, a certain lifestyle that we're kind of measuring ourselves up to and seeing ourselves not as good as.
It's a terrific onslaught of marketing, advertising, brainwashing.
It's a system run amok.
We often hear about efficiencies of scale, but actually the truth is what we've developed today is a system that could not be more wasteful. We have tuna fish caught on the east coast of America, flown to Japan, processed, flown back to America and sold to consumers. We have English apples flown to South Africa to be waxed, flown back again to be sold to consumers. The whole process involves incredible quantities of waste.
Only with a full cost accounting system, a true cost accounting system, will we begin to understand that goods that are shipped from 10,000 miles away are actually far more expensive than goods produced locally.
If you shorten the distance between producers and consumers, you're cutting out your food miles, you're cutting out your emissions, your oil dependency.
If we're going to buy food in San Francisco, let's buy it regionally.
We've got to begin localizing our politics, localizing our economies, localizing our spirits, even our spiritual natures.
Local knowledge is knowledge that tells you about life. It is about living. I call it grandmother's knowledge, and I think the biggest thing we need, the task for today, is to create grandmother's universities everywhere so that local knowledge never disappears.
If we can embrace the challenge, if we can engage our creative brilliance in this process, the future with less oil could be preferable to the present with lots of oil.
Deep in the Himalayas, on the western edge of the Tibetan Plateau, lies Ladakh, one of the highest and driest inhabited regions on Earth. Scorched by the sun in summer, frozen solid for 8 months of winter, this is a place that might seem incapable of sustaining human life. Yet over the centuries, fields have been carved out of the rocks and sand of the desert, enabling the people not only to survive, but to prosper. But the face of Ladakh is changing. The modernization of Ladakh calls into question a number of widely held assumptions about industrial society. It challenges us to reassess the whole notion of progress.
In one way, in spite of all the material progress, all the inventions, and all the knowledges, if we really look to the human situation, and I think they are more miserable now.
We tend to think of development as something that is just going on in the so-called third world. But actually, from what I've seen, going back and forth between Ladakh and the West over many years, it's clear that it's a process that is going on in the West too. It's just that here we call it progress and treat it like some sort of evolutionary force beyond our control.
We can't go back to living like the Ladakhis, but we can strive to re-establish our connection with each other and with the earth.